You know, Greg Mortensen, I think, is, again, many people who do this kind of work are extremely well-meaning, kind-hearted, warm-hearted people. Greg is actually the child of missionary. So he grew up in a situation where, he was raised in a mission in Africa. So, and I'm sure his parents did wonderful things. They provided medical services. They saved lives. Missionaries have, in fact, done a lot to preserve native languages because they want to translate the Bible into native languages when they have Christianity. But they have done a lot of research. So, people can be kind-hearted people. They can mean well, mean to help. And yet there's an unexamined assumption that they have that Christianity is the one path to salvation. Education is the one path, or schooling as we know it, is the one path to a sort of enlightened, life.
You have a question?
Well, I just a few comments and try to be quick, but I spent some time in Fiji Island and saw some of this alienation of youth and disruption of culture, and then I went to the U.S. to study an international education doctoral program, and this whole program actually was around this issue. This was back in the 80s. The program started in the 60s. So this awareness of sort of culturally inappropriate education and cultural, educational imperialism, all this was there, right? And actually there was this. So this is a very complex issue. Is one of my big points. Is that it's related to the context. It's related to development. Ideologies of modernization. And so there was a whole movement in non-formal education, which was trying to make when countries became newly independent, to make them to develop their own curriculums and use sort of, vocational, look at Nyerere and sort of villagization. And so there was a lot of educators at this program from all over developing countries working to do this. But then gradually they had this non-formal education, and it started to become formal again because people wanted the credentials, they wanted the choice, right? And so it's very complex. It was parents saying, stop giving us this vocational education, give us sort of education that will give us other opportunities. Now, I also teach a course in critical analysis of education to First Nations students, teachers trying to become students in First Nations communities. And so we look at alternative models. So there are things going on. There are things in Hawaii, right, where they're really trying to take the best of Hawaiian culture and incorporate it in sort of, how can we still be Hawaiian and live in the modern world? And we're looking at models of First Nations trying to do this in Africa and different ways of the world. So the good news is that there is some awareness of this, and there is some ability of trying to do that, of trying to have pluralism, but realize that modernization is not going away in some ways. And with the internet and all this, right, you cannot keep people isolated. And that's really what we do.
Yeah, as Helena says, the goal is a deeper dialogue. It's not to keep people isolated. Whether or not modernization as we know it is going away, I think is an open question. I mean, we're on a bad track on a planetary basis, and we have to really change. Even Bill Clinton, the father of international trade agreements, is now saying that he did a disservice to Haiti because the best path for the people of Haiti, and again, that stands as an example for places all over the world, the best path for those people is to remain small landowners growing food for local consumption. So whether it's a natural disaster or an economic catastrophe, people will be safer and more protected against poverty, and they will have a higher quality of life if they are on their own land growing food for local consumption. The other thing is that we have this very hierarchical society. I would not say that that's not going away. It's going to be here for a while. It's a very hierarchical society. We have huge spans of status. And so, of course, people want to rise in status. And the thing that's happened in Ladakh now and has happened all over the world is that people have truly come to believe in their own inferiority. They deeply, deeply believe that. And so a few kind of open-minded hippies come to visit them and try to convince them that, no, you're not inferior, you should value your own culture. It doesn't stick, because they can tell that the way the world is working, there is a power structure, there is a hierarchy, and of course they want to push their children up in it. They don't always recognize just how badly it is stacked against them, just how many of their children are going to be going on that discard heap, because those of us who come from, affluent, middle-class neighborhoods in North America, we think, oh, we're going to export our system of education to these developing countries. It's like, no, they're not going to get your school in your affluent middle-class suburb. They're going to get the equivalent of like an inner-city school. They're going to get a school that has an extremely high failure rate. They're going to get the bottom of our system because it is a hierarchical system. And we always, as Manish said, it boggles the mind that people don't see that this is about labeling children for success and failure. If we could stop doing that altogether, no more grading, that would be huge. If we could also recognize that there are just simply other valid paths and find some way for them to be equally respected, that would be huge. But that is difficult because people do see that hierarchy as it exists.
Several questions now. Let's move this direction, please. Yes.
Me?
We'll start with you.
Okay. Okay, hi, my name is Goran Klimovsky. I'm not an educator or anything. I'm just a parent who is trying to figure out what's the best path for his kids and other kids as well. I try to get involved in education a little bit. And first I want to say that for me, this movie is more disturbing and probably should be bigger than Waiting for Superman. The second, I want to bring some feedback. I shared the trailer of this movie with Sir Ken Robinson. The name must ring a bell. Using Twitter. And he...
Thank you. Like, wow, we got tweeted by Sir Ken Robinson.
Yes, so he tweeted so much. I've seen the tweet, right? He said it's take a quiet look and think of the questions this movie brings. And his response to me was a fantastic and important movie. So I really share his thoughts. What I wanted to ask you is about bringing this to a broader audience. There is an event coming right now in Vancouver. It's called TEDx UBC. So you must be familiar with TED, and the TEDx is a local license for people to organize events in their local community. So TEDx UBC is really about the future of education. And it would be a great opportunity if you have an opportunity I can connect you with the people because I'm volunteering there, to come and speak, maybe have a little talk or presentation or show the trailer. That would be a great, yeah, I don't really have a question. I just want to offer a chance to.
I think if you have a really outside-the-box point of view, it takes this kind of viral distribution, one person connecting it to the next, because, again, a lot of the mainstream distribution avenues will be closed to.
Yeah.
Yes, you had a question, please.
I know you just finished this work, but I'm wondering if you have any interest in, sharing with the world some models that might be a bit more on the right track. You interviewed some amazing people that must know of some places that couldn't.
Yeah, well, actually on our website we embedded Sir Ken's talk, because he talks about how the system as we have it is really suppressing children's creativity and individuality. So suppression of diversity occurs, on the individual level within our society, and then it occurs on a global level, with cultures. I know a lot about educational alternatives, but a lot of what I have learned in my own life, I've learned from other cultures, which have, again, they just don't have this concept of success and failure. Children are living in nature. Children can move their bodies. They're not required to sit still all day long, which right there is the cause of, this drugging of children. I mean, I believe that firmly. There's a tiny minority of children who actually have something neurologically wrong with them. But the vast majority of the children that we're drugging are just children that need more freedom, more physical movement. I mean, try to take a golden retriever and make it sit still all day. It's going to chew your sofa up, and take these poor little boys, and they can't stand it. But and also children being embedded in the community, embedded in an active community of adults, older children, and not segregated by age and just put in a building off by themselves, and then taught about life, taught about nature through books, taught about the adult world through books. So there are various initiatives going on, but I would have loved to include more in the film about the insights about children and learning that are embedded in other cultures, and how we could really learn from that. So maybe that's in the future.